they discovered a shocking reason why you can't hear God's voice. Few knew what truly happened that night, hidden away in the folds of ancient scrolls and whispered among the shadows of the temple. In the dim glow of flickering oil lamps, a gathering breathed in unison, tension crackling in the air. Each heart beat in anxious anticipation, yearning for divine words to break the silence. Yet, heaven remained unyielding, its voice muffled, leaving doubts that seeped like poison. This was Jerusalem, a bustling city steeped in ancient traditions and fervent expectations. The temple loomed overhead, vibrant, adorned with shimmering gold, symbolizing the promise of communion with the Creator. Yet, tortured souls lingered nearby, seeking solace, just as they'd done for centuries, feeling abandoned and unheard. They believed the whispers of God could heal them, if only they could discern His voice through the chaos. A figure approached, an elder draped in tattered robes, his face lined with sorrow. He held a tiny scroll, its edges frayed, a conduit of hidden truths. His hands trembled as he unfurled it, revealing secrets lost in the annals of history. "The heavens are silent," he murmured, "but why? Could it be we are the reason? Our hearts forsake the truth. We drown in our doubts." And sin.as murmurs raised in the crowd. Dread washed over them. The implications twisted in their minds. Did their animosity toward one another seal their fate? Torn between hope and despair, they exchanged frightened glances. For what if it was true? What if their failure to hear the divine was a consequence of their own making? Overhead, a storm gathered, dark clouds swirling like the confusion in their hearts. Thunder rumbled ominously, a prelude to judgment. The ground shook beneath their feet, and the heavens crackled with raw power. Yet, suspended in this moment, silence reigned, waiting, watching, dread and hope coiled. Would a miracle unfold? Would they finally hear the voice that eluded them? As the flicker of light dimmed, a figure dressed in white appeared at the temple's entrance, casting a long shadow over the crowd. Gasps echoed as people clutched each other, hearts racing. What would come next? Was this the long-awaited answer? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As the figure in white drew closer to the gathered crowd, the flickering oil lamps seemed to pale in comparison to the radiance emanating from him. His face, serene yet powerful, bore a wisdom that spoke of ancient truths and profound mysteries. The air crackled not just with the approaching storm, but with an intensity of expectation, the kind that comes when souls align at the precipice of revelation. "Why do you fear the silence, my children?" His voice, though soft, resonated like thunder in their hearts. "The very essence of your Maker surrounds you in love, yet you are blinded by your own doubts. The whispers you seek exist within. The hymn of creation flows through every heartbeat." A hush fell over the crowd. They exchanged incredulous glances, some tearing up as thoughts danced like leaves in the wind. Could it be that the answers lay not in the heavens, but within their own hearts? They had been searching so fervently up, neglecting the pulse of divinity that thrummed through their own spirits. This night, the figure continued, "The storm that approaches carries with it a choice. You stand at a crossroad where your faith meets your fear. What you seek is not just the voice of God, but the harmony you must restore among yourselves. Can you relinquish your pride, your anger, and embrace grace, even in your torment?" A rustle of murmurs erupted from among the crowd. They spoke of grievances long held, of feuds that had sown seeds of discord among friends and family. Was it true? Were they straying from the divine path because they had severed ties among themselves? The implications weighed heavily, each person wrestling with the idea that their own hearts might be the barrier separating them from the voice that yearned to be heard. "Oh, you not see?" He gestured to the dark clouds gathering overhead, as if illustrating a truth larger than life. The very storms that shake the earth can be a sanctuary for transformation. Are you ready to confront the turbulence within and seek love above all? With the winds beginning to howl, the crowd's apprehension morphed into a tidal wave of introspection. Their collective breath was a mix of fear and burgeoning hope, a sympathetic vibration echoing within the temple's age-old stones. One by one, they began to speak whispers of regrets, confessions of guilt, and a longing for reconciliation spilled out like tributaries flowing into a boundless sea. They shared their burdens. They could feel the weight lifting, their voices becoming threads that bound them, transforming their collective despair into a tapestry of unity. Yet, as the storm raged on, doubt glimmered like distant lightning. They could sense the challenge before them. Could forgiveness truly root out the deep-seated anger that had held them captive for so long? The figure watched them intently, a gentle smile of encouragement breaking through the heaviness. Healing is not an instant miracle, but a journey, one that begins with the first step of acknowledging the heart's grievances. Will you take that step tonight? Within the shadows of this storm, the rumble of thunder echoed as if in agreement, urging them forward. The temple, now a sanctuary of vulnerability, stood as a testament to their struggles. Could they bridge the divide? Could they embrace the turbulence and emerge, transformed, to finally hear that sacred voice they sought? As the crowd looked upon the figure for guidance, yet another question loomed in the air: would they have the courage to forgive each other, and in so doing, forgive themselves? What wisdom lay hidden behind their walls of pride, waiting to be unearthed? The tempest's breath grew heavier, each gust swirling with an urgency that matched the wrestling hearts of those gathered. The figure, still cloaked in the purest light, remained steadfast, a beacon amidst the encroaching shadows. As the first raindrops began to fall, the air thrummed with an electric anticipation what awaited them on this transformative journey. Each of you carries a mirror, he spoke, as if addressing the intimate depth of each soul. And it reflects not just your image, but the essence of those you have wronged, and those you have yet to forgive. When was the last time you gazed deeply into this mirror? Do you see the stains of your anger and resentment? Soft cries emerged from the assembly, voices tinged with the rawness of truth. For many, it had been years since they'd dared look closely at themselves, their reflection marred by shadows cast by past grievances. They had been busy seeking answers above, while the crucial whispers had been drowning in their own turmoil below. Yet, as the first rumble of thunder shook the earth, something profound ignited within them. They recalled sacred stories of ancestors who, facing storms both internal and external, found the courage to confront their fears. Abraham with his doubts, Joseph yearning for reconciliation, Esther facing her own fate. Each had fought their battles, but their victories were rooted in understanding and forgiveness. What if the voice of the divine has always been waiting for your embrace? The figure urged, his eyes glimmering with the promise of hope. What if divine silence is but a reflection of your own unwillingness to free your hearts from the shackles of grievance? The raindrops fell heavier now, creating a symphony as they hit the stones of the temple. The downpour seemed to wash away the last vestiges of pride, igniting a vulnerable courage within the people. They began to share more passionately, recounting stories of hurt but intertwined with the possibilities of healing. That a woman stepped forward, her voice trembling but fierce. I have carried bitterness towards my brother for far too long. I remember a time when laughter flowed between us like a river, and now I am imprisoned by my own hurt. The crowd fell silent, riveted by her honesty. She continued, but what if I choose to forgive? What if I let love speak louder than my pain? In this storm, I see a chance to rebuild, even if I don't know what it will look like. Her heart beat with a rhythm of hope, igniting sparks among those gathered, encouraging others to share their own struggles. As the rain poured, the figure watched, his expression a mixture of compassion and encouragement. You will find that when you open the door to vulnerability, the gentle voice of God becomes clearer. Your community is not just the people around you, but the collective spirit that yearns for love and connection. Another voice called out, a man battling his own tempest. How can we trust one another again? Our past is fraught with pain, and I fear that forgiveness might open wounds anew. Uncertainty filled the space, and the figure nodded empathetically. It's true. Healing is not void of complexities and fear. but it is also a step towards deeper understanding and love. Forgiveness does not erase the past, but it can transform your future. You do not walk this path alone. Embrace the beauty of communal journey. They stood together, faces illuminated by flickers of revelation, the rain washing away not just the dust of the earth, but the dust of old grievances. Gradually, an understanding formed. The struggle to forgive was the fertile ground where faith could flourish, giving rise to the hope of understanding that had long been overshadowed by conflict. Yet, beneath the rain, and within the echoes of their newfound courage, uncertainty lingered like the distant rumble of thunder. Was their resolve strong enough to truly cast aside the burdens that held them captive? What if tomorrow brought temptation to revert to old grudges? And could their hearts remain steadfast in the face of past wounds? As the storm raged on, the figure's words resonated deeply. Would they find the strength to embrace the power of forgiveness, knowing it was not just a gift to one another, but a sacred offering to themselves? The question echoed with solemn weight amid the rain, leaving the crowd searching for answers within the sanctuary of their own hearts. As the tempest continued to rage, its winds howling like the voices of the past, the cloaked figure stepped forward once more, the light emanating from him shimmering like starlight in the darkness. Each droplet of rain danced and sparkled, reflecting the heart's turmoil and the glimmers of hope intertwining in the air. Listen closely, he urged, the sound of his voice cutting through the chaos like a beacon. In the depths of your heart lies a sacred whisper, a seed yearning to grow. But this whisper is often drowned out by the clamor of the world and the noise of your own pain. When was the last time you silenced the storm within to truly listen? The people exchanged uncertain glances, their consciousness swirling in an awareness that perhaps they had been more eager to speak than to hear. A realization dawned upon them. The spaces of silence were precious, yet had been fearfully avoided. What would they find in those quiet moments if they dared to seek? In a corner of the gathering, an elderly man stepped forward, seemingly frail yet imbued with a profound warmth. His hands trembled as he spoke. In my youth, I believed I could hear God's voice in every rustle of the trees, in the softness of the evening breeze. But as the years piled upon my shoulders, that voice grew faint. Was it I who silenced it? His admission quickened the hearts of those nearby, resonating with their hidden fears. The cloaked figure nodded, a knowing light in his eyes, as he gestured to the gathering clouds overhead. The mightiest storms take time to pass, but after each tempest, there is clarity. Likewise, your hearts require stillness to understand the divine messages surrounding you. The Almighty is always speaking. Your task is to calm your storms and listen. A lull fell over the assembly, each member pondering the storms within themselves, their pride, their grievances, their fears of vulnerability. Would the act of forgiveness free them to hear? Could the sacred conversation with the divine be rekindled through their willingness to confront their own shadows? But a young girl raised her voice, bright and fragile like the first light of dawn. What if we are afraid? What if silence amplifies our fears and our disappointments? Must we risk hearing only the echoes of our own failures? Her questions hung heavy in the air, a reality many felt but few dared articulate. That a hush enveloped the crowd, weighing upon them until the figure spoke again, his voice like the gentle rustling of a leaf. Fear is a natural part of your journey. It does not mean you are failing. It shows you are alive. The divine relationship you seek often reveals itself in the darkness, illuminating paths unknown. Would you rather stay in a comfortable silence, or embark on a journey towards a deeper understanding? This choice lies in your hearts. As thunder rumbled again, this time less ominous and more like a distant drum. The assembly collectively felt the pulse of that truth. They never truly journeyed alone, not with each other, nor with the divine. The power of shared vulnerability created a bond thicker than water, a tapestry woven of individual struggles and collective strength. But as they stood on the precipice of inherent decisions, doubt loomed large in their hearts. Was it enough to simply desire connection with God? Could their fragile spirits withstand the raw honesty required to break through the noise? With the storm swirling around them, the cloaked figure waited patiently amid their quiet turmoil. To hear the divine, you must be willing to face what lies beneath the surface. Consider this: what unspoken truths hide in the shadows of your soul? What would it take for you to bring them into the light? In the wake of his words, the air thickened not only with the scent of rain, but with the weight of unasked questions and untold stories. The journey towards understanding was just beginning, fraught with uncertainty and potential. Could they find the courage to confront the divine silence that mirrored their own, and in so doing, discover the voice they so desperately sought? As the rain began to lighten, shards of light threaded through the cracks in the clouds, illuminating the faces of the gathered souls, each one a mosaic of doubt and hope. The cloaked figure stood firm, an emblem of serenity amidst the whirlwind of emotion that had surged through them. They were drawn to him, a beacon in their collective sea of uncertainty that a sense of quiet expectancy filled the air, as if nature itself held its breath, waiting for the next revealing moment. The elderly man, emboldened by his earlier admission, began again. If we were to cast aside our fears, what should we ask of God? What truths must we seek in the depths of our beings? The cloaked figure regarded him intently, the gravity of his gaze finding its way into the hearts of every listener. It starts with an invitation and openness to seeing the unseen and understanding the unknown. Why do you harbor fears? What stories do they tell? You must confront them, lest they continue to echo uninvited in your minds. The wind stirred, carrying a hint of warmth, and the heart of the gathering began to pulse in unison. Each face reflected a flickering flame, ignited by the shared possibility that perhaps the journey they feared was the very path to their salvation. Yet, the young girl interjected once more, her voice trembling but brave. But what if we find nothing but emptiness? What if silence holds no answers? Ah, dear child, the cloaked figure replied, his tone delicate, yet ever so steady. Emptiness can often be a treacherous wilderness, but it is a wilderness rich with the potential for growth. In that quiet desolation, you may find hidden seeds of faith longing for the light. Sometimes, the divine speaks through silence in ways you may not yet recognize, bringing forth lessons when the noise fades away. The elderly man leaned forward, recalling his past, but this time his voice quaked with reverence. You speak of a silence that teaches. Could it be that my yearning for God's voice left me momentarily deaf to the whispers of my own spirit? Have I neglected the simple truths that once nurtured my soul? Indeed, the figure replied softly, the glow around him a warm embrace. Often, the divine is not just a voice from the heavens, but a flame within the heart. It is the prompting of your conscience, the resonance of compassion you feel towards others, and the call to seek justice and mercy. Have you forgotten to listen to your own sacred yearnings? The crowd shifted, murmurs of realization began to swirl among them. A deeper understanding crept like dawn across the valleys of their souls. God's voice was woven into the fabric of every moment, in laughter, in tears, in the joy of helping one another, yet somehow, they had overlooked it in the noise of their own lives. Yet, as their awareness blossomed, a shadow of doubt returned to one of the women present, her brow furrowed. But if the silence is a reflection of my own shortcomings, how then can I approach the divine? What if my heart is unworthy? The cloaked figure smiled gently, the light around him sparkling with divine compassion. It is in your unworthiness that you find the raw material of grace. Embrace your imperfections. They are the soil in which the seeds of a profound relationship with God can root. Can you begin to see that your vulnerabilities and struggles do not disqualify you from love, but instead ignite a deeper quest for connection? As these questions intertwined in the hearts of the assembly members, their minds churned with introspection and newfound purpose. Each one felt the pull of their individual narratives, tinged with the weight of expectations and the liberating breath of acceptance. The storm now abating, the air was still thick with uncharted possibilities. As they collectively stood on the threshold of discovery, each member sensed the pressing nature of their own Silencian invitation into the depths of their souls, an encounter with the divine that awaited beyond their fears. As the cloaked figure gazed warmly upon them, he posed one final question that rippled through the gathering like the gentle undulation of waves upon a shore. What if the silence you fear is merely a doorway to the profound connection you seek? Will you step through it, together, into the unknown? As the gentle rays of sunlight broke through the dissipating clouds, illuminating the visage of the cloaked figure, the assembly felt an unspoken bond knitting them together. Each heart beat with an eagerness that mirrored the kindling fire within, an urge to explore the landscape of silence that lay before them. The elderly man, now emboldened by the unfolding of their shared truths, asked, "If our silence contains lessons and whispers, might we also uncover our own voices? What if we began to speak, to share our burdens and beliefs as one?" The cloaked figure nodded appreciatively, his eyes sparkling with wisdom. Indeed, the act of sharing carries profound power. It creates pathways for understanding, healing, and the recognition of our shared humanity. When you voice your fears and revelations, you mend the fabric of community by stitching together your individual threads of struggle and hope. Encouraged, one by one, the assembly began to share the contents of their hearts. A young mother, with tears tracing lines down her cheeks, spoke of her fear of inadequacy in raising her child. "Sometimes, I feel as though my worries overshadow the love I wish to give. How can I navigate this when all I hear is silence?" The cloaked figure responded, "In the chorus of your fears, let love be your counterpoint. Joy does not drown out your worries. Rather, it coexists and enriches the silence. When doubt arises, remember the laughter and warmth shared. That love is a language as potent as any spoken word." The young girl, emboldened by her mother's vulnerability, added, "I feel a heaviness in my heart when I think of my friends who struggle. How can I bear witness to their pain when I have yet to find my own strength?" The figure smiled, his gentle presence reassuring. "Your compassion is a light, even in its infancy. Bearing witness does not require mastery over your own journey. It merely asks for presence and empathy. You can offer your heart in encouragement, and in turn, you will find strength within the connections you nurture." Another voice emerged, this time from an elderly widow who softly questioned, "Is it possible that in our conversations with God, we may not receive grand answers, but gentle nudges to act? How do we discern these movements in our quiet moments?" The cloaked figure appeared deep in thought before responding. "The art of discernment is called forth in the stillness of the heart. When you confront your own silence, be attentive to the promptings that arise, small urges, a flicker of inspiration, or a yearning to act in kindness. Each is a whisper from the divine calling you forth. As the sunlight expanded, bathing them in warmth, a palpable shift occurred within the assembly. Each member felt empowered to embrace their unique vulnerabilities as little beacons illuminating their shared path. However, beneath the buoyant surface, flickers of uncertainty remained. Yet again, the weighty voice of a skeptic rose. What if our voices, filled with uncertainty and longing, simply reverberate into the void? What if we are unheard? But consider this, the cloaked figure replied thoughtfully. Every call into silence becomes a conversation, even if it appears one-sided. Perhaps your echoes may resonate beyond what you can perceive. The divine hears not only your voices, but the essence in which you express them. In this exchange, you may find the threads of hope entwined in the tapestry of your lives. This profound notion settled among them. A moment of silence enveloped the gathering. Reflection painted their faces in hues of contemplative admiration. They stood poised on the brink of further exploration, for with every question emerged another layer of understanding without resolution, but rich with possibilities. The cloaked figure gazed upon them with an unwavering presence. He offered one last lingering question, as broad and deep as the sky overhead. What if through your voices, the heavens themselves are awakened to your stories? Will you dare to speak your truth, despite the silence that lingers? As the assembly remained in the embrace of silence, the dusk began casting shadowy fingers across the land, giving the gathering a sense of both intimacy and vulnerability. The cloaked figure observed the myriad faces around him, each sculpted by a myriad of experiences and emotions. It was in this moment, shrouded in the gathering twilight, that he sensed the weight of their questions pressing more profoundly than ever. One man, rugged and weary from the long journey of life, stepped forward into the dimming light. He hesitated, then breathed deeply, as if trying to summon the traces of a lost memory. If our voices can indeed awaken the heavens, why do so many feel abandoned when they call out? I've prayed in moments of despair, and often the silence that greeted me felt like a void rather than a conversation. How can we reconcile this? The cloaked figure pondered for a moment, then replied, "The silence you encounter may indeed seem like abandonment, but it can serve a deeper purpose. It is within that stillness where the soul often discovers its resilience and strength. In the hollow space, you are invited to confront not only the noise of the world, but the noise that exists within your very spirit." One of the younger members, a boy with bright eyes reflecting a flicker of hope, chimed in, "But how do we know God truly leans in during our moments of quiet? What if that silence is simply absence, a testament to our worthlessness, rather than an invitation to seek deeper?" The figure leaned closer, the warmth of his presence enveloping the assembly. "That notion of worthlessness is a mirage built on the doubts woven into your hearts. Silence does not equate to absence. Rather, it is a realm where deeper understanding can blossom. God's presence often transcends human perception. Each heartbeat, each moment of breath carries the essence of the divine, waiting patiently for your recognition." Curiosity rippled through the listeners. The older widow spoke once more, her voice steady despite the ravages of time. "If silence can cultivate strength within us, how can we truly discern whether we are growing from it or merely retreating into shadows of despair? How do we differentiate the sacred silence from the harrowing void?" The cloaked figure's eyes shone with ancient wisdom as he considered her question. "The distinction lies in your engagement with that silence. Sacred silence allows space for reflection, for connection, and for eventual emergence into clarity. It leads you toward community and healing, while shadowy silence ensnares you in isolation and uncertainty. Listen closely. The qualities of your thoughts will guide you through." A collective murmur spread through the assembly, a mingling of acknowledgement and further questioning. A voice emerged, choked with the weight of grief, from a grieving father standing slightly apart from the rest. "But what of the unspeakable losses? When we call out in anguish, yearning for understanding in our pain, how can we still believe in hope?" The cloaked figure moved forward, the ambience thick with compassion. "Hope, my dear friend, is often birthed not from answers, but from the courage to stand amidst the unanswered and allow your heart to heal. Your pain is valid, and it speaks volumes, yet there can be beauty amidst hurt. Each moment of struggle has the potential to transform into a testament of your strength, reinforcing the bonds within your community as you cast light into each other's darkness." As dusk deepened, the assembly found themselves united in an island of compassion, navigating shared uncertainties together. Yet, amidst the warm glow of camaraderie lay a lingering question. The skeptic heart of the assembly arose once again. What if our shared voices only echo against the walls of silence, growing fainter in the dark? How can we trust that hope will guide us towards the dawn rather than leave us shrouded in lingering despair? The cloaked figure regarded him with an unwavering gaze. "Ah, this is the heart of the mystery, dear friend. Will you allow your voices to become mere echoes, or will you stand together, weaving harmonies that break forth into the dawn?" The answer, as always, lies within the courage of your collective journey. As the shadows stretched long and the first stars began to appear, the assembly lingered on the precipice of revelation, questioning the very essence of their voices and the silent responses they sought. Each heartbeat pulsed with the potential of unfolding truths, yet each carried the weight of uncertainty. In this quiet communion, they contemplated deeply, what does it truly mean to journey together in faith when the path ahead is obscured by both silence and shadow? As the stars blinked into existence, casting gentle light upon the gathering, the cloaked figure felt the heaviness of the night settle upon the assembly, intertwining them in a tapestry of hope and uncertainty. Each person wrestled with their own understanding of the divine, forging a path through the darkened silence that enshrouded their hearts. From the back, another voice piped up, this one trembling with a mix of yearning and trepidation. "Is God not like the winds that blow freely? Should we not expect a voice like thunder or whispers in the rustling leaves? How can we sense his presence when it feels as if we are shouting into an empty canyon?" The figure turned, nodding knowingly. Indeed, many seek the booming proclamation of the Almighty with the expectation of a clear and vivid response. Yet God often chooses the quieter routes over the dramatic. The subtle speaks volumes when our hearts are attuned to listen. It is within the gentle caress of the breeze, the soft glow of the candlelight, that we may find traces of his voice. An elder spoke, his brow furrowed with concern. But if silence is part of our journey, how then do we avoid losing our faith in the invisible? How do we cling to that belief even when all seems to conspire against it? The figure raised a hand, as if to gather in the questions swirling in the air. Finding faith in the invisible is akin to nurturing a young seedling. Both require trust, patience, and the ability to envision that which is unseen. Every prayer uttered in despair can, in time, be a seed planted deep within the soil of your spirit, awaiting the right moment to break through and blossom. Faith is not an absence of doubt. It is persevering through it that a ripple of understanding flowed through the assembly, yet doubt still flickered like an errant candle flame. A young woman interjected, her voice trembling. But when we wait and wait, yearning for an answer that feels eternally delayed, how do we endure the weight of that longing? How do we prevent our hearts from hardening in the silence? The cloaked figure smiled softly, a glimmer of hope in his eyes. Longing often invokes a deeper hunger that transcends mere desire. It is a longing for connection both with God and with each other. During these moments of waiting, you may choose to reach out and find sustenance in one another. The threads of community can offer warmth amidst the freezing silence and remind you that you are not alone on this journey. The woman looked down, her heart a storm of emotions. Yet sometimes connections falter, and isolation can cling like a heavy shroud. What should one do when the silence becomes deafening, even among family and friends? In this moment, the figure leaned forward, almost conspiratorially. Therein lies another layer of the profound mystery. The echoes of silence may also reveal hidden truths about oneself and the dynamics that shape your relationships. In solitude, there is an invitation to explore the depths of your soul and confront the barriers you may have erected to shield yourself from pain. The night deepened, and the air was thick with contemplation. Suddenly, a voice from the corner chimed, "I know, wise yet skeptical woman. But if our voices and our community are not enough, will faith alone carry us through? What if during our most desperate calls, we still hear no response?" Replied the figure, "this is a profound truth to untangle. Faith, my dear, is both a refuge and a learning curve. In moments of despair, it can feel fragile, yet it is within the act of seeking, even amidst the darkness, that the foundations of your faith are fortified. Reaching out whether to the divine or to each other breathes life into that faith and ignites a spark of hope. Remember, even in silence, love emanates. It is woven through the threads of shared experience and heartfelt connection. As they considered this, questions began to dance in their thoughts, swirling like leaves caught in a gentle breeze. Would they learn to embrace the quiet, nurturing the seeds of faith buried within? Would they hold fast to each other, exploring the pathways of their uncertainty? In that lingering twilight, filled with a mixture of despair and wild hope, each person was left to ponder. As we traverse the uncertain path of faith, how will we choose to listen both to the whispered promises of God and to the hearts of those around us? As the assembly lingered in the hush of night, each face illuminated by flickering candlelight, a weighty stillness hung in the air, as if the atmosphere itself was pregnant with the unspoken. The cloaked figure, sensing the urgency of their yearning hearts, gazed thoughtfully at the gathering, observing the flickers of doubt wrestling with glimmers of hope. "Do you not see," he began gently, "that within your questions lies a profound yearning? This longing is not merely a sense of absence. It is a compass guiding you towards something greater. When silence envelopes you, it can feel like a void, but it often beckons a deeper understanding. Consider, what if, in the silence, God is allowing you space to explore the echoes of his creation within you?" A young man, resting with his thoughts, spoke up. "But how can the absence of sound translate to a deeper connection? It feels paradoxical, like searching for light in a darkened cave." The cloaked figure nodded, encouraging him to continue. "Exactly so. In the quiet, you must seek the flickers of illumination that arise from within. This journey is not just about receiving answers. It is an interactive conversation with the divine about growth, struggle, and resilience. Each moment of silence is also a moment of an invitation to delve inward and uncover what is lost. But what if, the elder interjected, we find only darkness when we look within? What if there are shadows of doubt that we are unwilling to confront? Can we truly bear the weight of our own hidden fears? The figure leaned closer, as if forging a bond of deeper trust with each individual present. The shadows you describe often hold the keys to your liberation. Within them, you will find fears unexamined, dreams unrealized, and the silence named. Only by acknowledging these truths can you begin to align with the divine frequency that flows through all things, including your own hearts. The assembly exchanged glances, eyes filled with the shimmer of shared vulnerability. The woman who had spoken of isolation earlier now ventured boldly. And what if our shadows feel insurmountable? How do we reconcile our longing for connection with the fear that keeps us tethered? The cloaked figure's eyes glimmered with understanding. Therein lies the intricate dance of faith and fear. The shadows may seem daunting, but remember, they do not exist to imprison you. They are pointing toward healing. Faith does not banish fear outright. It offers a pathway through it. Embrace your fear. Examine it closely, for it is often the catalyst that propels you toward new realms of understanding both of yourself and of the divine. As silence filled the space again, a ripple of realization swept through the assembly. The man who had spoken of darkness nodded slowly, grappling with the idea that vulnerability could pave the way for authenticity. Then perhaps our waiting is not a void filled with unanswered prayers, but rather a profound opportunity for growth. Could it be that God is cultivating something in us, even when we can't hear him? The cloaked figure smiled, a knowing light flickering in his gaze. Indeed, yearning is a fertile ground where faith can stretch and seek, blossoming into forms seldom imagined. You must ask yourselves, in these silences, what seeds of truth are being planted unearthed? What fruits of patience or lessons are ready for harvest? A collective breath was drawn, filled with the fragrance of introspection. The assembly contemplated the nature of their longing and expectations. They were beginning to see that the silence might not signify absence, but rather an invitation into a transformative journey. Yet even in this new understanding, a whisper of doubt persisted. A voice, soft yet firm, cut through the stillness. If we are growing, then what does that mean for our future? Are we meant to endure silence indefinitely? Or will there come a day when we, too, will hear the answers we seek? As the night deepened and shadows danced in the flickering light, the assembly was left with this haunting question, lingering in the air like stars blinking in the vast expanse. In our quest for understanding, how do we discern between the silence that teaches and the silence that distances? As the assembly remained gathered in the twilight of introspection, a palpable moment of vulnerability hung in the air. Faces reflected the flickering of hope and uncertainty, thoughts weaving silently among the crowd like the gentle rustle of leaves in a warm breeze. The cloaked figure, steadfast before them, sensed the tension within their spirits, a tension woven into their shared stories and individual struggles, yet bound together by an innate desire for understanding. Let us venture deeper into the heart of your question, he began, his voice a soothing balm over their wounds. Understand this. Silence is but a canvas upon which the divine paints the colors of your stories. In the quiet, it is easy to lose sight of the masterpiece being crafted. But it is not meant to be a desolate void. It is a sacred invitation for growth, reflection, and connection. A ripple of understanding washed through the crowd. Eyes slowly brightened with the dawning realization that they had framed silence as a barrier rather than a bridge. The young woman who spoke earlier about her fears of inadequacy, her spirit gathering strength, ventured forth again. So, if silence is an invitation to grow, then could our perceived abandonment serve a purpose, a chance to cultivate the roots of our faith deeper? The figure nodded, a soft smile gracing his lips, shining with the light of countless stories of redemption and awakening. Exactly. The silence often fosters a space where new seeds of faith are nurtured. It may feel lonely at times, but within that solitude lies the fertile ground of connection, first with yourself, and eventually with others. An elderly widow, whose heart had been heavy with loss, then took a step forward. But how do we let go of the grief that clouds our vision? How can we trust that growth is even possible when the past weighs so heavily upon us? Ah, dear child, the figure replied, his voice imbued with compassion. Grief is not merely a burden. It is a testament to the love you have known. In honoring your grief, you find the gateway to healing. Acknowledge your emotions. Allow them to guide you. In the process, you unearth the resilience that lies within, making room for the light to enter again. That a young father, whose brow was creased with worry, raised his voice. But does the growth come easy? Can we emerge from the shadows without fear of falling back again? How do we trust that light will truly break through the clouds? The cloaked figure looked at him, meeting his eyes with unwavering intensity. The journey of growth is inherently dynamic and fraught with experimentation. Light does exist, even in the shadows, but you must cultivate the courage to search for it. Trust evolves through experience, through learning how to stand together in vulnerability, through connection, and through the community that uplifts you. As each voice joined the symphony of slowly building confidence, the assembly shared heartfelt stories of their journeys, their struggles with faith, their yearnings for connection, and the shadows that threatened to swallow them whole. With every word spoken, an ember of hope glowed brighter, their individual stories intertwined, forming an intricate tapestry of trust and solidarity. Finally, the figure lifted his hands as if presenting the tapestry in front of them, his presence illuminating the dusk. This is the beauty of shared experience woven together. Your voices create a resonance that can pierce the veil of silence. Even when you feel unheard, remember that your murmurs ripple across the landscape of the divine. In unity, you are not merely seeking answers. You are inviting transformation. In that moment, the storm clouds that had weighed heavily upon their hearts seemed to draw back, allowing rays of warmth to shine through. The assembly, now transformed by their shared voices, began to understand that they had the power to shape their connection with the divine by fostering the relationships among themselves. With newfound conviction, they began to embrace the silence not as a void, but as a sacred space imbued with profound potential. They realized that the echoes resonating in their hearts came not just from a yearning for answers, but from a desire to connect with one another and to uncover the threads of love that bound them to the divine tapestry of existence. Then, rising from the deepest recesses of their souls, a collective word emerged, a promise unspoken but palpably felt. We will not shy away from silence. We will listen, not just to our questions, but to each other. We will share our burdens and celebrate our joys, allowing the whispers of the divine to flow through us. The cloaked figure smiled, the light around him growing brighter and enveloping the assembly in a divine embrace. This is the beginning of a new chapter for you. As you honor the silence and trust the echoes that arise, you will find the voice of God within your shared hearts, a voice that will guide you through any storm. With that, the last dusk gave way to the dawn, a radiant light filling the skies, illuminating their shared journey of transformation. Each soul stood in this new light, shadowed fears melting away, confidence unfurling like petals after a long winter's rest. As they looked upon the dawning day, they understood. The silence they had once feared now transformed into a sacred conversation between their hearts and the divine, a conversation woven together by faith, vulnerability, and the nurturing thread of love that binds humanity together. And above, as the sun broke free and illuminated Jerusalem, a gentle whisper danced on the breeze. Listen, and you will hear. The promise echoed through their beings, and in that moment, a profound revelation grasped their souls. True communion begins within, where faith kindles hope, connection breathes life, and every silence becomes an invitation to speak in love.